Hey guys, it's Solio. Today I want to teach you about how to space someone out with Groh and how to play at what I like to call the ambiguous spacing. Groh is really good when he's playing at mid-range because he has really good reach and pretty strong whiff punishment tools. So in a lot of matchups like those against pressure characters such as Talum, Taki, Yoshimitsu, maybe even Sofitia Maxi, this is the exact range that he wants to play at, right around here. But Groh has a pretty unique issue. His backstep is bad, so he has trouble retreating to that mid-range where he would normally be able to escape pressure from these pressure characters. So you're probably wondering, if I can't backstep out of pressure, how am I going to space someone out and get out of their range? And the answer is you're going to be using moves that push the opponent away from you on block. And Groh has plenty of moves that fulfill this purpose, but before I go over those, I want to tell you what I mean when I said ambiguous spacing at the beginning of the video. Ambiguous spacing is basically another way to think about being at mid-range, but specifically after you hit someone's guard. Let's say I hit my opponent's block with a move like Groh's 2-2A. Right here, the opponent has significantly fewer options to hit me. Why? Because I'm far enough away now that my backstep can actually come into play. At this range, my backstep can make them whiff most attacks they would decide to throw out, and so they're not really sure if they can hit me or not. Hence, ambiguous spacing. And there's a lot of different ways you can use ambiguous spacing to your advantage past just baiting whiffs with it, but that's a conversation for a different video. So now let's talk about some of these moves that have good pushback for Groh, and the first one I want to talk about is his AA. Being one of Groh's fastest moves in general, AA is obviously going to be your fastest pushback tool, but it may also be the hardest one to use. You'll notice if I use Groh's AA at point blank range, we create a little bit of space, but because Groh's backstep is so bad, we're going to need a little bit more than this to be comfortable. So there's a bit of a sweet spot with AA that you want to hit. If you're about right here, not quite at tip range of the first hit, you do both hits, and if they block it, they will get pushed back significantly farther. This is exactly where we want to be, and this will make your opponent whiff all day long because they'll think they can hit you. And the reason I say don't do this exactly at tip range is because if you space it at exactly tip range, the second hit may whiff, as you just saw there. So your spacing is going to want to be on point to get the most effect out of AA as a pushback tool, but another thing to keep in mind is that this is -8, and that comes into play for a specific reason that I'll mention a little bit later. Another really good pushback tool for neutral especially is Groh's 2-2A. I like to use this for prolonged keepout. Basically, this won't really be the move that you use to get the opponent out of your face initially, because as you see, if you use it close, you're still kind of in the danger zone. But if you use it to keep the opponent from getting close to you in the first place, to prevent those pressure situations, that's when this move really shines. It's got great range with just that little bit of pushback, so you use this at tip range and they can't even get close to you. A third one that I'll use in neutral is Groh 6K, although I will say I use this one rarely. This has about the same amount of pushback as Groh's AA, so because this move is a little bit slower and it's vertical, I typically would use AA right here instead, but I will admit that a lot of even really good players get caught off guard by this because it's so fast, they think that they're going to be in range to hit you and they swing before they even realize that you're at that ambiguous spacing. So I'll use this every once in a while and it can catch people off guard. Now all the ones I've shown you so far are all highs, so I'll give you 2 mids to also mix in to push your opponent away a little bit. The first one of these mids is 4-4B, and honestly this is a move you should probably be using anyways, not just for pushback, but because it's amazing. It's plus on block, it does great guard damage, really just a fantastic move. Now because this one's plus on block, you might be thinking, why would I backstep? I probably should just attack instead and take my plus frames. Usually you'd be right, I would agree with that. However, let's say that you do 4-4B, and then the opponent starts 2Aing you. So they're trying to take their turn back and continue their pressure, which is what a lot of these pressure characters might try to do. And in that situation, you've got enough space to where you can backstep, probably safe from anything they throw out if they decide to throw out something a little bit slower. And that's when you can whiff punish them with something like a 6BB and get that quick whiff punish into more pressure of your own. The other mid that you can use to push back is 8B plus K. And honestly, this is a move I don't think any Groh player uses enough, not even myself. With a lot of these pushback tools I've been showing you, you already need a little bit of space to make them work effectively, which is fine because that space comes naturally in a lot of fights. But 8B plus K can be used from even closer to effectively escape these mid-range moves that someone like Talum might try and throw at you to prevent you from moving backwards. And of course, the effect is even better if you do want to space it a little bit further back, because now you can make them whiff by a mile, or just reset neutral if they don't decide to attack you instead. Now, while I don't mind 8B plus K in neutral, I think where it really shines is in Oki situations, and I'll show you one specific one. If I do 6/6A plus B and they side tech, they kind of have to block that, and it pushes them really far back, as you saw. Now, let's say instead they decide to stay on the ground and roll, which a lot of players do against Groh. They get ground stunned by 8B plus K, and I get a 58 damage combo. So now you can see why 8B plus K really shines in those Oki situations where they kind of have to deal with it one way or the other. The last pressure tool I'm going to show you for now is Groh's 4B plus K. And you can see this one gives you a ton of space even if you use it up close. However, it's really slow and obviously very linear, so I don't like using it in neutral a ton. I'll show you instead how I prefer to use it. There's a few Oki setups that I'll use where I use 4B plus K, and if they forward tech, back tech, or stand up in that Oki situation, they have to block 4B plus K, and they end up getting pushed so far out that we're no longer even at ambiguous spacing. We've completely reset neutral, and now the pressure character has to approach me again. So one of these that I used to show off in one of my older videos is you do the 6B plus K counter hit combo, and then you use 4B plus K. So on your own time, feel free to experiment with how you can use 4B plus K in your Oki setups against these pressure characters to keep them out the whole game. And while I said I don't use this in neutral very much, I will admit that it gets more tempting to use in neutral once you have the lethal hit condition unlocked, because if it hits, you get this lethal hit combo, and if it doesn't hit, then you've pushed them away. So that's all of the keep out tools that I regularly use. However, I do want to end this video by giving you 3 hints on how to make these most effective. The first thing is that if you use these and you're trying to backstep out of your spacing to bait whiffs, you're going to want to tap the backstep button and not hold it, and I'll show you why. This is what happens when I tap. I escape the move. However, this is what happens when I hold. I still get caught, even though my spacing was correct. The second thing, and I kind of referred to this when I was talking about 8B plus K, is that you should not expect to use most of these at point blank range and get out of pressure automatically. You have to keep in mind that while Groh's pushback tools are good, they're not so good that they're going to save you from this spacing. This is just way too close, and Groh's backstep really is just that bad. You're going to mix your own spacing with the pushback of the moves to make things whiff, as seen right there. The third and final thing I want to remind you of is that frame data does play a role here. The more negative a move is on block, the more difficult it'll be for you to move out of the way after the opponent blocks that attack. Now, the reason for this is very simple. If you use a move with less frame disadvantage, such as Groh's 2-2A, which is -2 on block, your backstep is going to have more time to complete, therefore moving you further in the process. But if you use something that's a little bit more negative on block, like Groh's AA, your backstep isn't going to quite fully come out by the time the opponent can hit you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use AA to push out. On the contrary, you should be using it a lot. It just means that your initial spacing is going to have to be a little bit more on point to make it work to bait whiffs. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you learned something or you enjoyed the video, make sure you click the like button. Feel free to share this video with your friends, and I'll see you again soon.